Hi everyone, so this is Deffinition here with my Arkham Knight playthrough. If you've been checking out my other playthroughs, you know that I'm a bit of a Batman expert. I've got a website, definition.co.uk, where I'm currently reading through all the chronological Batman graphic novels, ranking them from best to worst, and I'm also on the side of that playing through Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and now Arkham Knight, and kind of showing what graphic novels influence certain parts of the game. The other games I kind of played through just the first 2 hours or whatever. This I'm going to kind of break it up into chunks. Arkham Knight's like a massively underrated game. I think Arkham City was so successful that people just thought, alright, well, everything from now on is going to be at this level. And unfortunately, Rocksteady did overdo the Batmobile quite a bit. I know that was massively hyped up before. And it was a bit of a disappointment, like they give it too much. And this opener is absolutely brilliant. So it's following on pretty much directly from the end of Arkham City. It lets you know straight away the Joker is dead. He's not coming back. He's definitely dead. He's cremated. You've just done it. And I just thought that was a really creative way to open. Unfortunately, at E3, Rocksteady for some reason spoilt the Scarecrow opener, which we're just about to go into now. Which, if you didn't know in advance, I think this would be a massive surpriser. And it's just a shame that they kind of introduced it like this. So you've got Commissioner Gordon talking there. Same voice as the guy who played Mike in Breaking Bad. His name kind of skips my head at the moment, but he's a really good fit for Commissioner Gordon. I think if they ever cast him in a film, he'd also be a really good fit. Obviously, my main man, J.K. Simmons, aka J. Jonah Jameson, he's Commissioner Gordon now, but I think this Mike guy would have done a great job. So it's good how it just starts. You've got Sefton Hill there on the right, just walk out the diner. He's the games director, so he's had a cameo in all the games, and that's his one there. And you've got the diner here. I just remember this, playing through this and thinking, oh, you've got a TV, it's got Arkham City on it there with the courthouse, the Two-Face one, Paulie's diner there, named after Paul Dini, who wrote the script for Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. So it's nice that they kind of homage them a bit there with I've got to turn the controls here. It's nice to homage them a bit with just calling it Paulie's Diner. So it's really good how it just starts off. You've got Henry Adams there, who comes into it later in quite a big way, and it's quite a little dull beginning. It's obviously, near Halloween. You've got a Scarecrow mask there. You've got a guy in a Batman mask. And you've got a guy coming over here who's seen something strange in the corner. So this kind of, I think, takes inspiration directly from a God of Fear story. It takes part during the Nightfall arc, and it's featured in Shadow of the Bat. That's the run it's from. And it basically involves the Scarecrow sort of poisoning Gotham. It's more kind of him going after citizens, and this is sort of the whole threat that the game takes on. You've got such a good opener here. I'm very lucky to have a 4K TV. I don't want to brag, but it's in the 50 inches. I know a good TV when I see it, and just seeing this scene play out, it still looks absolutely fantastic, and the way it transitions from the start, it's just really good. And I love how it changes the genre up a bit. Like, first person shooters are obviously a massive game genre, and it's good to see they're doing this. Oh no. So this is what the Scarecrow, it's the best way to introduce the threat of the Scarecrow. You see people, how they act. I also do think this takes inspiration directly from Sandman, which is written by Neil Gaiman. It's a really good graphic novel if you get a chance to do that. You've got the Johnny Charisma there, getting borderline. And Scarecrow there obviously is suffering from the wounds that he got in Arkham Asylum when Killer Croc tore half his face off. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So Sandman, there's an arc in that takes part in a diner where a villain goes in who can basically control human emotion, and he can make everyone really happy. So at one point all the members in the diner start having sex with each other, but he can also make their emotions really depraved, and it gets to a point where they start murdering each other, and it all takes place over the space of about 24 hours, I think. And it's just a really good adventure through human emotions and the different contrasts and duplicity that we all share within us. So I do think that opener takes inspiration from that. You've got the policeman getting shot there, and this is also a brilliant way to kind of introduce just, you know, a cop gets shot by Penguin and Two-Face. Obviously you can see the graphical upgrade that was made when they moved to the PS4, and it's just great how Arkham is in complete anarchy. It sort of reminds me a lot of No Man's Land, Cataclysm, Contagion as well, which are all huge. Also The Cult, which are all huge stories in which, you know, the villains, the criminals take over Gotham City. And it's great seeing this on a surface level, and then the camera pans up directly to Batman, and it's all in one shot, and you can see the skyline's absolutely incredible, and you've got the bat signal there, and you know, just to see Batman up on this perch, it's a perfect way to introduce the character. And you know what, as good as the Arkham City introduction is, I think this is probably the best out of all three for beginning the game. You've got the excellent Joker confirmation that he's dead, and then you've got the diner, and then you start off here and you just glide off and you're immediately in the game. There's no tutorial or anything, it's just sort of like you're up there above everyone. You can see the blimps, which are often a big part of Gotham. Like, if you ever watched the animated series from 1992, the blimps are just a huge part of that game. And you've got Batman sneaking up on Commissioner Gordon, and I love how something that's became a motif of Batman is when he disappears mid-sentence as Commissioner Gordon's talking to him. And it's good that they get the chance to do that in this game, because it wasn't there in Arkham City and it wasn't there in Arkham Asylum. And it's funny how in the Justice League trailer, the new one, they're making a joke out of it, with the Flash standing back and being like, "Ooh, that's a bit rude that they all just disappeared." So really great opening, and this is still the best rain I've ever seen in a game. Like, it's amazing how it just relies on the characters. So anyway, back to the cult. It involves Deacon Frost, who actually features in this game. He brainwashes Batman. He breaks him down by basically starving him, not torturing him, but tying him up in, it was, you know, just like using just mind control techniques to eventually get him to join his forces, and the city just goes the city just goes to hell. Homeless people end up rioting and taking over the entire city, and Batman really gets broken down, and he's got to go back to the Batcave, recover, get Robin, and they ride into Gotham in a monster truck Batmobile and take down Deacon Frost. And I just love whenever Gotham gets taken over. Like, it happens in a lot in the New 52. You've got Riddler does it in Zero, which he blacks out the city, and says every day, right, I'll let control of the city go back to the regular people, but you all have to answer a riddle, and if you do, then I'll give you control back. Of course, it's the Riddler, so the riddles are, you know, there's a trick to them, and pretty much everyone gets fed to the lions. And you can see the combat's been upgraded here, and it's just so much more fluid. You're able to take on much bigger groups of people in a more free flow manner. And I remember playing this and getting a massive buzz off it, especially when you can pick up the bats and stuff. You've got the blimps there, which I'm just gliding past, which are a huge homage. Not the blimps, sorry, the balloons. Very clearly referencing the Batman '89 movie, in which, of course, the Joker leads a parade through Gotham City Centre, and he has these whole balloons, and Batman just comes in on the Batwing, and we get the famous line. I don't know, you know what, I don't think where does he get those wonderful toys from it is that part of the movie, but yeah, it's just an absolutely brilliant scene in which Batman just takes all of the balloons out. And we've got coming up here one of the best introductions to the Batmobile ever.
You're safe. Thanks, Batman. I thought they were gonna kill me.
He just gets the lad out there.
The city's overrun. We don't stand a chance.
And it's nice how they kind of upgraded the Arkham City suit, like very subtly. And just, yeah, this is one of the best. Yeah, there's a, you know what, playing through it like analytically, and going through the beginnings of every game in the series. Yeah, this is by far the best introduction. Like, you just, the amount of detail that they've put into this, and that the PS4 can deliver is absolutely crazy. Like, you can zoom in very close to characters, and there's immense detail on them, and then pull out, and there's still that detail to the city. And just getting to drive the Batmobile, it's a big thing, and I do wish there were more sections like this, instead of just like stealth tank Batmobile. Like, I remember when you had to do the stealth tank bits, and I was thinking, oh, just the words stealth and tank should never be used in the same sentence ever. And it was great how you could upgrade the reskin the Batmobile, and you know, the '89 version's my favourite one, developed by Anton Furst, who sadly committed suicide after the initial Batman film release. It was just a brilliant looking car, and it really just, it's one of the best movie cars of all time, I think. Look at these lads, they think they're gonna beat us up. They've gotten out. So it is kind of hard to talk about the main inspirations this early on in the game. If you've ever read the Under the Red Hood, that obviously plays a massive spoiler into the end of the game, which it's a shame that they decided to steal the twist completely from that, especially after hyping it up for ages that they were going to be developing a brand new character, which was a load of shit, and it didn't make sense, like someone unmasking themselves to be another person in a mask. Yeah, it was. I think that's another reason why people got so annoyed with Arkham Knight, which is a shame, because if they had just made the Arkham Knight in this the character that he turns out to be, if they just made him that from the start, it would have been it really would have been like a really good game, and people wouldn't have been disappointed with the twist. We've got Oracle there, Barbara Gordon, who is famously paralyzed by the Joker in the story The Killing Joke. Absolutely stellar story. Like, when I first read it, I didn't really like it because I think it'd been hyped up so much, but it's so twisted, and I love the joke at the end, which is something like, there's two people in an insane asylum, they're trying to escape. One goes to walk across a beam, jumps across the roof to escape and gets a torch out and shines it across and says, "Oh, you know, you can jump across, just walk over the beam." And the other insane guy goes, "No, I'll not do that. You'll just turn it off when I'm halfway across." And it kind of speaks to, metaphorically, the madness of the Joker and Batman. Like, I don't know which character is meant to be which in that joke, but the whole story is about this joke, and it really surmises Batman and the Joker's relationship. And the whole story is about Batman trying to be like, "Look, we are going to kill each other eventually. I don't want that. If there is a way to become, you know, to just be civil, then I'll happily take it." Unfortunately, Batman doesn't get to deliver that speech to Joker as he's escaped. And the joke at the end just perfectly sums up their relationship. Batman wants to, with all his heart, just stop the madness that the Joker has brought forward, but I think when he hears that joke, he just realizes that there's no hope. And I don't care what anyone says, Batman kills the Joker in The Killing Joke. And I'm kind of wondering if DC are going to pick up on this again in Rebirth, because I know that they've introduced 3 Jokers, which they've done that, and they've just completely dropped the ball with that and not mentioned it again. So it will be interesting to see how it goes with that. But I think personally that one of the Jokers was the one in The Killing Joke, and they were murdered. Tom King at the moment's I never know if it's Tom King or Tom Kane, you know, and it's really bad. But he's currently doing the War of Jokes and Riddles, in which the Joker is just stopped finding things funny, so he's almost going to a next level to try and find a joke that's going to make him laugh. He realizes that riddles are similar to jokes, so he meets up with the Riddler, but then he betrays him and shoots him. Batman shows up and realizes, you know, the Joker is the Riddler is fatally wounded here. I can chase after the Joker and probably catch him, or I can take the Riddler to the hospital. And Batman, very unlike Batman, decides that as the Riddler's gonna die, he's just gonna go after the Joker and leave him there. The Riddler doesn't die, and it starts a massive war across the city in which the Riddler wants to kill the Joker and vice versa. And the entire city's just kind of just a war zone. We've just seen there that Poison Ivy talks about how toxins don't have an effect on her, which is a big part of the character. There's a story called Batman Contagion, which I briefly mentioned earlier, in which the Apocalypse virus, which is also known as the Clench, gets unleashed in Gotham, and it's a form of Ebola A, which just kills people within 48 hours. And Poison Ivy basically is tasked by Batman to take the cure to certain people, because he knows she's the only person that can survive this toxin. This is a brilliant bit. Oh, so you get your Batmobile out here. It's brilliant how you can just call it in by remote control. Anyway, Batman sends Poison Ivy, you know, one of the most duplicitous villains that he's got, in to deliver the cure to these rich people. Unfortunately, being the evil woman that she is, she betrays him and decides to sell the cure to the highest bidder, because the people who lock themselves in this tower are some of the wealthiest in Gotham. And it is just, yeah, it's really good that Batman then he's realized what's going to happen, so he has to break into the tower and take down Poison Ivy. It's a bit like Die Hard. It's not like as big as Die Hard, but it's still it's still a really good story, and I 100% recommend picking up Cataclysm. It's not, you know, amazing, but it leads into Legacy, and then it leads directly into Road to No Man's Land, which of course leads directly into No Man's Land, which are all absolutely stellar stories. So you sort of need that one to almost set the grounds for the story to be built upon. It involves Tim Drake getting the virus, and when they find out after thinking that they've cured it, that the virus mutates through the Legacy storyline and becomes the Legacy virus. Everyone who was cured now gets a deadlier version of it, and it's just really tense. Dick Grayson used to be my favourite Robin, but I think after reading Nightfall, Contagion, Legacy, Tim Drake just became my favourite by far. I mean, he's got the whoa, oh, you've got to do this one as well. Yeah, unfortunately the game sort of takes not a massive dive, but you know, it's a lot of tutorials at this point. So Tim Drake, he's not as much of a dickhead as Jason Todd, which makes him better, and he's as cunning as Dick Grayson, but he's also a detective. Like in Death of the Family, he figured out that Dick Grayson and Batman were he figured out Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne were Batman and Robin. It's very hard to talk when you're trying to shoot stupid tanks. Tank fight, who likes tank fights? Not me. So he is the one of the best all-rounders, and Dick Grayson even goes on to become Batman Beyond. That unfortunately has been rewritten, but it was very good and played out in Future's End, which is a story about the Batman of the future traveling back in time to when Brother Eye was created, because in the future it's an AI that has taken over basically the world, and destroyed everything. It's sort of like DC's Days of Future Past, and it involves all the Earth 2 heroes, and it's a very sort of yeah, I'm an idiot. Like I could have just done that straight away. So yeah, these tank sections, they just overdid them so much, really, looking back. Like anything that is sort of like the Batmobile in this game is just tethered to you, and there is one bit where it gets destroyed, and when it got destroyed I was just like, thank fuck for that. Unfortunately, about 10 minutes later you get it back, and whilst when I seen it come back I was like, oh yes, it's back. I then realised, yeah, I'm never getting rid of this thing, it's gonna be here forever. So that was nice. It's just a bloody shame, because they didn't really need to pad the game out. It was long enough without it, and unfortunately a lot of the Riddler challenges involve it, so if you want to complete them, you've got to do it. I do think it is a cool looking Batmobile. I was originally going to get the statue, but it just that's good. So yeah, like they could have just cut down so much of this shit. Haven't always just fight in the Batmobile. You got Dixon Duck there. The Grey Ghost poster there, which is a tribute to Adam West, rest in peace, who sadly passed away recently. So in the animated series, Batman, as a kid, used to watch a TV show called The Grey Ghost, which was voiced by Adam West, which, you know, it's obviously a homage to the 1966 show, and he sort of was inspired by this, you know, this fighter who used to go, this vigilante basically used to go and solve crimes. It was a really nice way to homage the first season, and also like merge the two together. Like, this was before cameos were a massive thing, and then Batman through the episode realizes that a criminal is perpetrating a lot of crimes that were on the TV show about the Grey Ghost. So he goes down, finds where the Grey Ghost is, the actor, and they both go out together to solve these crimes. And it's a nice little tie-in of how, you know, you should meet your heroes. It reminds me of my dream when I met Christian Bale, and it was the best. So the clock tower is Barbara Gordon's base, and it was also used almost as a bat cave in the aftermath of Batman R.I.P., in which he gets killed in Final Crisis, and Dick Grayson realizes that, you know, Gotham needs a Batman. So he takes over the role and there's a big war for it in the book called Battle for the Cowl, in which Jason Todd comes back and he wants it. And there's a couple of people who want the role. Eventually Dick Grayson takes on the mantle, and obviously Dick was always sort of Batman's a very broody, moody guy, whereas Dick Grayson isn't. He's quite happy. So he sort of inverts everything Batman is, and Joker even comments on it, like, you fight more like a bird than a bat. And even everything down to his base is a tower, and it's just a nice little twist on the character. Of course, we know Bruce Wayne comes back eventually, but it's good that he can leave the mantle in the safe hands of Dick Grayson, because there was a point where he couldn't, and he initially gave it to Jean-Paul Valley, who... Let's get it then. It's good how you could go in the evidence locker and get your old equipment out. I really like that. But a lot of people didn't know, and I didn't realise in the Batcave there was like grenades and stuff that you could pick up. So... Oh, I've got the bloody Riddler. So in the Nightfall saga, Batman gives the role to John-Paul Valley after his back gets broken by Bane. John-Paul Valley, mental lad, goes around murdering people, killing them. So Bruce is basically like, oh, you know what, this probably isn't a good idea. I need to not have someone in place who's an idiot. So he gives it to Dick Grayson in the story Prodigal, or whatever it's called. Anyway, the lad does a bloody stellar job of it, so he gets, you know, left as substitute number 2. And that's a really good story. It sort of deals with a lot of father and son things. Obviously, a lot of people don't acknowledge it, but, you know, Dick Grayson is Bruce Wayne's son. He adopted him and he looked after him like a father. So it's a really good little twist on it, and it sort of also deals with Dick Grayson being angry that Batman didn't ask him. He's like, why didn't you just, you know, tell people, why didn't you just tell me that I could do it instead of giving it to Jean-Paul Valley, who's messed the city up. Oh, you can smash this guy's head in. Bang of the boss, son. Shut your mouth. So yeah, it deals with, you know, it's a whole father and son thing where Batman's like, well, I know you wanted to be your own man, and I didn't want to hold you back and say, oh, you have to follow in my footsteps. And Dick's like, well, why didn't you just ask me? And it's a whole breakdown of communication. And there was several years where Bruce and Dick didn't really interact because of how Bruce sort of trained him as a kid. Dick Grayson didn't really have a childhood because he was too busy, you know, training to be Robin. And he sort of saw it as like, you took away my childhood, fighting this war that I didn't want to fight. And it's just a really good little like character study, and I do wish there were sort of more things like that which sort of analyze, like, they don't hate each other, but like a lot of father and son relationships, they get frayed due to a lack of communication. And it's like, I always wanted what's best for you, son, even if I didn't exactly go about it in the best way. Which it's just a really good look at the character. And I know that they are talking about, if they do a sequel to this game, then it might either be with Damian Wayne or Dick Grayson, and it would be really good to see those characters in it. They also said it might be a sequel to Arkham Origins, so we'll just have to see. But the game's not been announced yet. It's getting done by WB Montreal, who made Arkham Origins, which, you know, some people like that game, some people hate it. Personally, I quite like it. I think it's definitely got the best story out of everything. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. So I'm just upgrading stuff here at the moment. I don't really need it. I'm pretty good at this game without this stuff, if you don't mind is saying there, mate. Anyway, cheers for listening to that story. So basically the way I'm going to do this game is I'm going to play through the entire thing. I'm not going to like make you watch me play through the entire thing, but just in key bits I'm going to record, you know, certain sections. So whilst this first part is just kind of a more sort of open thing, the next couple of parts will be more selective of what I take. So we're going to Professor Pig right now. I know that I've not really read much with Professor Pig. He did feature quite heavily in the Batman and Robin Must Die storyline, with once again Dick Grayson being Batman and Damian Wayne being Robin, and he basically wants to make perfect people, which this murder investigation sort of centers around, and the game does a really good job of showcasing like what kind of person he is. If you've ever get a chance to watch Beware the Batman, whilst it only went for one series, it was still really enjoyable, and a lot of it does feature Professor Pig, and he's just kind of he's a complete psychopath, and I do quite like the character. I thought he was a bit goofy at first, but once I've read the Grant Morrison run in which he murders people, just because he's a sadist, you do kind of realise like he has got a sinister vibe to him. So definitely try and check anything out by Grant Morrison that has Batman in, because you'll not be disappointed. If you're gonna pick up from Batman and Son onwards, make sure you read it in order, because I read it in the wrong order. Like, I read Batman Incorporated first, and I thought, oh, this is alright, but it's not amazing. Whereas once I read it in chronological order from start to finish, I just thought it was absolutely mind-blowing. Like, there's so many little touches. Like, there's one issue like early on where Batman asks some prostitutes questions to see, you know, to get to the bottom of this investigation, and the girl that he asked the questions to, he says like, look, you don't need to be doing this, blah blah blah. I heard they're hiring at Wayne Enterprises. And then about 7 volumes later, you just see the girl. They don't really highlight it, but she's just working as a receptionist there. And it's just little touches like that that really make the book sort of, and the run, just next level. Like everything ties together, it all has a point. Like Grant Morrison's a great believer that everything in Batman's like all Batman stories are canon somehow. So the things that happened in the 30s to Batman when he was a younger guy, the things that happened in the 50s or Batman when he was, you know, in his 20s, he met Robin. It was so camp because Robin brightened up his life. In the 70s it started getting darker again, but you know, it wasn't, it was in his 30s, and then in the 80s it just went kind of batshit crazy, which is when Jason died, and that's why everything was so dark. And it's just, the guys like really got it all planned out, so definitely pick up that run. Anyway, that's my playthrough of Arkham Knight for now. I'm probably going to do 5 playthroughs on this. Like I originally only did 3 on the other games, but there's so much to talk about in this, it would be a shame not to. So thanks very much for checking out this. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Check out my other playthroughs as well, I really appreciate that. And if you get the chance, go to Deffinition.co.uk. that's Definition with 2 F's. And check out my comic reviews. Like I said, I'm reading through all of the Batman graphic novels from start to finish, but I'm also covering things like Watchmen. I do a Watchmen podcast with my good friend Tom Quee, and I cover like Suicide Squad, Justice League. I just do it all, yeah. So check it out, and thanks very much for watching this video. Thank you. Take care. Peace.